from somewhere, undisclosed location somewhere around the world. It's Mike from around the world. Mike?
Pastor Paul, God bless you, brother.
Oh, praise God, Mike. Great to have you. And you don't just have me, Mike. You have Heidi Begley with me tonight.
What? The judge? Uh-oh.
The judge is in the house.
She's got the gavel. Watch out.
Look out. She's good. And she wanted to be the one to fire the first questions out there tonight. So.
Just put me on the hot seat. Okay.
We got confidence in you, Mike. We know you're the man with the answers. So, Heidi, take it away.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
God bless you, Heidi. I'm doing okay.
I just have a question because we have seen a real spike in a lot of requests for our blankets because people are coming down with cancer, and I'm talking stage 4 cancer just like now.
Yeah, you remember, you guys, you remember about, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago? Mm-hmm. I started talking about a rise in skin cancer, specifically skin cancer, because of the sun, right? Mm-hmm. And since that time, there have been some developments. Of course, everybody knows the sun is in an off cycle. It is directly related to some of the spikes in cancer, directly related, right? And to take it a bit further, there were a few lab tests done with, I believe it was over 2,900 volunteers from 5 places in the world. So each place had about 3,000 people apiece. Anyway, there was a genome positioning project that was done to see some of the effects of galactic cosmic rays or X-rays and gamma rays and things like that. How it really stimulates and causes mutations in a cell that would lead to human cancer. The findings were there's no challenging these findings. Some of the folks who are not regularly in the sun, they still get exposed to galactic cosmic rays because they penetrate all the way to the ground. The heliosphere movement and collapses, right, cause a lot of galactic cosmic rays from something external to penetrate to the sun. Well, the sun gets very active, shoots all of that towards Earth. With interruptions in our magnetosphere, all those heavy particle rays come in. They knock the nuclei right out of a human cell, causing deformities at the DNA level. It just knocks out instructions. Of course, that's cancer, and then it begins to replicate. Once that happens, once cancer is caused by ionizing radiation, the damage in the cell leaves, it's like a fingerprint, right? Because at the genomic positioning is you can calculate that. And with that fingerprint, you can tell exactly why a person caught the cancer. Well, the findings, they're not lying. Out of all those studied subjects, over 92% were caught cancer by radiation, right? Not some nuclear factory either, because each particle leaves a signature as to how it deformed the cell in the first place. And of course, cancer is a cell that no longer responds to the human body. It won't shut off. It keeps replicating, spreading throughout the body. So it's like a rebellious, deformed cell that will not stop. And so long as the sun continues to go through this progressive state, we're going to see people are, what I'm saying is that people are being exposed to high doses of radiation just here and there is causing deformities at the DNA level, right? Which translates to children, on newborns, all sorts of things. And that there have been spikes, yes, that's been confirmed too, big spikes. It's surprising that you guys picked up on it because you'll never hear about it. You're not going to hear about that.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, Mike, you're right. I mean, it's not being reported in the media. It's basically kind of being ignored or just shoved aside. There's bigger problems, they say. But our ministry has seen this incredible. I mean, almost like 5 times more stage 4 cancer needs.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa. It's like, did something happen? Did some kind of release on the earth, or was there an event
Right.
Well, again, we've had a lot of external galactic activity regarding radiation, and ionizing radiation is dangerous. And so basically, these high-speed particles come in and knock the nuclei out of everything else. That's and it ionizes that, all the radiation around it, or all the energy particles around it, sending them at high speed right to the human body, to us, to the ground, knocks out the nuclei, damages DNA, causing DNA mutations. And they're beginning to identify, they're calling them, what are they calling them? Mutation signatures that in the genome of a cancer cell. So they're actually starting to look for this now, and the findings they likely will not release because they can't do anything about it. They can't do a thing about it. And it's likened almost to like radiation therapy, right? They use X-rays and gamma rays and high-charged particles, the electrons and protons out of those rays to kill the cancer in radiation therapy. But this type is on a continuous basis, which means as we continue to have magnetosphere issues, that number is going to go up. As we continue to have all these CMEs and solar flares and all these things, right? That number is going to continue to go up. It's going to continue to go up. So
is that part
people
of
are also heavy leg syndrome is starting to hit a lot of people. That means a lot of a lot of fluid in the lower part of the body, right? It's because radiation also messes with the heart, right? Your heart, of course, if something is wrong with your heart, you're going to have problems in your legs, in your extremities, right? Between that push and return. So a lot of people are going to have a heavy leg syndrome, meaning they're going to have, their legs are going to ache out of the blue. They won't know why, right? They'll stiffen up on them or whatever. And that too is kind of sudden, irritating, aggravating, especially when somebody's trying to go to sleep. So, and these storms that we're having are going to do nothing more but exacerbate that problem.
Mike, around the world, folks, with us tonight, we're taking a look at a serious issue, and that is this incredible rise of cancer on the earth.
Yeah, I know, just the requests that we've had, it's like a young mom, suddenly stage 4, just like this, just like that. Another husband asked for his wife, she's only been given 3 weeks. I mean, it's like serious stuff. Right after another. So
I had a relative like that. They were a veteran. They were doing okay. All of a sudden, 1 month they were diagnosed. They were sick. They went into the hospital with stage 4 cancer. About 2 weeks later, that person was gone. So this is happening all over the place, all over the place. But you know what? It's just beginning. It really is. Sadly, it's just beginning. I know people may not want to hear that, but it's just beginning. This radiation thing. Diet, however, is a mitigator to that. It really is. People have to really watch their diet. It's almost like nobody can avoid the radiation from the sun, right? They can't do that unless you're 700 feet below the crust of the earth. But you can mitigate radiation with your diet. Because your body is essentially a big processing factor, and it does an amazing job. It can actually absorb and get rid of a lot of radiation, regardless of what, because radiation is cumulative. It doesn't really go away, so they say right and wrong, it can. It's been known to go down with a proper diet. The body knows what to do. You just have to give the body what it needs, and it'll carry out those functions.
So, Mike, you're saying the magnetosphere is weakening, and I think you said that last week, the week before, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a big deal. It's weakening because of why, Mike?
Well, we have with.
You gotta go? You're leaving me now?
yeah,
Mike, you still there?
I got my question answered.
Yeah,
Okay.
do you guys hear me?
Give me water.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I hear you guys.
You went dead on us for a minute there, but you're back. And back is good.
The sun, of course, right, is overcharging the earth. The earth is absorbing everything the sun emits, right?
Okay.
As the earth overcharges, it's going to cause the magnetosphere to fluctuate. Right now, when it overcharges to a certain degree, there's going to be a reversal in everything. I mean, everything, right? And that's the least of our problems. Actually, when the earth starts to reverse, it'll expand greatly. It'll be a super expansion of the earth when it starts to reverse. And let me north and or east and west was not the same way thousands of years ago, right? The sun did not rise in the east. It didn't.
What?
It didn't,
No, wait a minute.
No, it didn't.
Whoa, time out. You're telling me the sun didn't rise in the east?
No, it didn't. So things were
Okay.
reversed. Things were reversed, and it will likely go back to that same rotation again. It'll likely go back there. And so I think that a lot of some of the analogies and some of the stories of, because you hear about the earth being turned upside down, of course, in Isaiah and the Bible, right? But if it's turned upside down, that means east and west is going to change. Our east and west is going to be different. In the strata, especially in California strata, which is pretty condensed and low to the ground, you can dig down and see, because rocks, certain types of rocks, they orientate themselves to the magnetic field of the earth, right? It switches every so many thousands of years. Now, I'm not going to tell you how many thousands of years, because that's somewhat spooky, but it changes every so many thousands of years. And you can see that in the rock strata. You can also see it in other places. So that's an easy way to track to see. Plus, tree growth and everything else was opposite of what it is now, right? Certain plants will always grow towards the west. Don't ask me why, but they kind of bend towards the west, always. So you have certain plants, fossilized plants, that were doing the same thing, but in the opposite direction, right? Which means we have gone through, and of course, rock strata has layers. And so each layer is going to be orientated into a different position. So the earth has changed its, that reversal has happened more than 4 times. Right? We were just on live long enough to experience that cycle. We're about to, because everything that happened back then leading up to that rotation is happening right now.
Wow.
Right now.
All right. Now, Mike, as you're talking about these things, and there's some things that have happened this week that are just mind-boggling that we want to get your thoughts on. One is, you said 4 weeks ago, I went back and listened to the tape and found where 4 weeks ago you said, you might want to keep an eye on that storm that's going to wind up in the Gulf. It's going to be in the Gulf of Mexico. That's the one you better be worried about. And you said it 4 weeks ago, and here it comes. I got to ask you, how in the world did you know that there was going to be one of the worst storms in history was going to come out of nowhere and show up in the Gulf? I mean, is there something info you got that can help indicate this?
No, it wasn't. It's not really based off that. It's kind of, if you watch the ocean temperatures, right? Kind of like BP Earthwatch started analyzing. Once you start looking at things for so long, so many years, you pick up patterns, right?
Okay.
And it becomes natural to see right through those patterns. Well, the heat anomalies in the ocean, they're not good. They're not good at all. One of the heat anomalies had a track that was going right into the Gulf, right? So if any storm would have developed in the right below the North Atlantic, right there near far out to our east, it would have been sucked into the Gulf, and then that power of that storm would have been amplified. By the way, we have another storm on the same track right now as Ian that just went through. That's another story.
Whoa! Is it formed already? Is it?
Yeah, it's forming right now.
And it's
just like it's forming right now.
It's going to come right through and going right in the Gulf.
If the water temperatures do not cool down, it's going to do probably the exact same thing. Now, I suggest that this one, because of heat anomaly adjustments, will smack Texas.
Wow.
It's going to go up into Texas and all those places. But
okay.
We'll keep you watch that. Just like before the storm, right? You remember they were forecasting. They said it's going to hit Tampa. It's going to hit Tampa.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The night before the storm hit, I was on the phone with family in Charlotteport, right?
Okay.
Because they're right there near Fort Myers and Charlotteport.
Yeah.
So because Tampa's 150 miles away from where it actually hit. And I was telling them, you guys got to get out of there. They said, no. They said it was going to hit, Tampa. So we're going to go. I said, no. There's cold water up there in Tampa. You guys have the hot water. It's coming directly to you. So
wow.
I was on the phone a long time. Well, they didn't. They sheltered. They said, we're going to go ahead and shelter in place. I said, guys, you're going to regret it. I mean, I was on the phone for a while, which I normally don't do with anybody. But so they stayed. And they regretted that decision, right? But when you follow ocean temperatures, if somebody can see the ocean temperatures, that's all they have to look at. They're going to see the energy that drives these storms, right? If there's no high pressure system to take the storm away, then there you go. Also, spiritually, right? I'm troubled by the Gulf even right now. That trouble is not over. And I knew it had to be something because you know how you get that, that spiritual sense, and you have to go check it out. I've ignored this in years gone past, and I said I'll never do that again. Right? This is somehow purpose.
So part of it is
I start looking.
Part of it is the science. You're studying you've been studying it like BP Earthwatch does, and part of it is the Holy Spirit saying you might want to look at the Gulf, look a little deeper, look a little deeper.
That's what begins it all.
Yeah.
It is, Pastor Paul's always, it is always Holy Spirit that nudges me, and then I go back and I start seeing these patterns. The bad part is when all the science in the world is what they used, right? Because they said it was hidden Tampa, and they were absolutely wrong. Basically, they were following this hurricane, following computer modeling, right? Which was, I'd say it was not that accurate. It just wasn't not that accurate. I'll tell you something else. So if a person is in tune with the Spirit, the Spirit will let you know if something is not right, or if it is. You know, we just have to calm down and kind of listen to it. But this storm did exactly, not bragging, none of that stuff, but it did exactly what was. I was speaking at COT, and it did exactly what was described, that it would come to the doorsteps, begin to dissipate. Even right now, they're saying the storm is going to go up the coast, right? Yeah. But I'm telling you right now, there's a difference in the water temperatures that could severely upset, you know, their forecasts. And so.
So what are you anticipating?
Right now, tomorrow morning is going to be the best time to tell exactly what this hurricane is going to do, right? Because as Ian came in, it shuffled some of the water currents. Yeah. The water currents, they're just not going to support the power in the Gulf right now. Now the Gulf is heating back up again. Yep. But that same type of cool water was also pulled down from Maine down to Florida, all the way from Maine to Florida, right? Wow. So that cooler water is going to just, it's going to start, have that hurricane every time it goes into that circle and starts bringing up water, that warm water. Well, that's going to be cool water. So it's going to lose its power. Then it will be oblong. Normally when that happens, it's a disrupted type of storm. It still causes rain, but it's a disrupted type of storm. So tomorrow morning is going to be the best time to absolutely tell exactly what it's going to do. Because if it strengthens, it's going to come inland. And if it comes inland, the ground temperatures are so warm, it can actually go all the way to Tennessee and cause some bad damage, right? By way of a lot of rain. But if it doesn't, if the water's too cold and one of these heat anomalies just, you know, vanishes, it won't go up the East Coast at all. It's going to be sucked east. It's going to go out east, which will be a blessing for a lot of people. I think they're tired of water. Unfortunately, this is only the beginning. It's only the beginning. This is only the beginning. It breaks my heart to see that if more people could see this, Pastor Paul, this is only the beginning. Imagine this hurricane, right? Yep. This type of damage from this hurricane on every coastline. Oh. Every coastline.
Well, you keep talking about the coastal flooding. You've said it time and time again. I'm listening closely. And you've also said there'd be water anomalies. We would see, like Arizona, you called that one. And we've seen whether it was St. Louis this year, whether it was Eastern Kentucky, Las Vegas, Dallas, Georgia. Yeah. I mean, these were incredible floods out of nowhere, very outside the norm. Some of them 1,000-year floods, 500-year floods. This hurricane, Ron DeSantis is calling this a 500-year hurricane to come into Fort Myer. And so you've been calling these things to watch out for, including coastal flooding. Do you anticipate? You say it's going to get worse. I mean, we're just getting started, right? Is that because of the magnetosphere weakening? Is that because of the volcanic activity coming up from the ocean floor? What's driving this?
All of that is caused from external radiation coming into our solar system, right? Believe it or not, every solar flare, every CME, is purposed. Every single time the sun, in fact, CMEs respond to something in the heliosphere. I'll give you an example. When the heliosphere has a weak spot, right, there's always a solar flare or CME on that side of the sun. Those flares strengthen the heliosphere, right? That's our solar system shield. So every time we have a CME, every time we have a flare, it goes right to the spot in the heliosphere where there's a weakness. If it does not do that, right, we wouldn't live long at all. All of us would have cancer or something like that. The galactic cosmic rays, they're coming in stronger and stronger. Now, naturally, I subscribe to a binary system, right?
Yep.
So with that binary system, the closer we approach that time period when the power exchange will happen between our sun and another sun, it's going to continue to, that radiation is going to continue to increase and interact with our solar system, overcharging the Earth. Even right now, we need a whole lot more of volcanic eruptions to relieve the pressure in the Earth. The pressure in the Earth is back up to rates again. It shouldn't be, right? And if we don't have a relief point, then people will see a big earthquake in places nobody's predicting, right? We're going to see new fault lines. There's too much pressure. Sooner or later, magma will breach places it's not supposed to breach. So then all this begins externally because all planets are being affected. Every single last one of them are being affected, right? Temperatures are going up on Jupiter. Temperatures are going up on Venus yet again. Temperatures are going up on Mars. Mars has fluctuations that are off the scale. And they've not seen that before. And the Earth, if not for our atmosphere, right, we'd be in big trouble. We'd be dead already.
But our atmosphere is eroding. Our magnetosphere...
It is being compressed. It's being compressed because
Right.
heavy particles are coming into the ionosphere, right? Which, by the way, is very hot. It just has little to no density. As that density begins to build up in the ionosphere, because more and more particles pouring in, spacecraft and everything else they're going to encounter something called friction. So we're going to see somewhat of it's not going to be good up there. We're going to lose half of our stuff out there in the first place.
Are you talking
I don't think
satellites? Are you saying satellites?
Oh yeah, everything up there, anything we have up there, it's not properly shielded. That stuff can't re-enter Earth's atmosphere and survive. It's not built that way. So with more and more friction, you're talking about higher and higher temperatures, more and more resistance. So corrections are going to be messed up also. And some of those devices up there, they carry, nuclear power plants on board, right?
What?
For example, there are satellites up there. If you took a coffee cup, they have a fluid in them. If that fluid in that coffee cup ever hit the atmosphere, it would likely destroy 50% of the Earth. That's how, they put that stuff up there because they had little to no regulation at first. They thought radiation was good or was, not that harmful. But they have some very toxic chemicals up there that if it ever comes back, that's why Air Force and Space Command are constantly targeting and shooting down what they must shoot down so nothing like that breaches the atmosphere. That's a 24-hour operation that must take place. Some of those objects up there we can't do anything with. And if they ever begin to decrease in their altitude, degrade in their orbits, they're going to have to be shot down with some very special missiles, right?
Well,
so then that's planetary defense.
All right, and speaking of that, now this, we just had the DART spacecraft just crash into an asteroid, I guess was, I don't know why, if we're not going to get, one report I get is that, don't worry, we're not going to get with an asteroid for the next 100 years. We don't see any of them in our, Okay, then why are we up there worried about knocking them around? So, Mike, tell me, we got asteroids coming toward us, don't we?
Yeah, we do, and it's kind of like this 1,000-year hurricane we just had, right? We're not supposed to have this hurricane for 1,000 years, although it just hit the other day, yesterday. So there we are. It's supposed to be a 1,000-year storm is something we're not supposed to encounter for 1,000 years. But just reset that clock, and then they could have given me the money for DART. I could have took a slingshot, right? Jumped into some spacecraft and shot a rocket at that comet and say, see what that does. It's going to do the same thing that little cube does. But anyway, they are, they try these things to see if they can affect the orbit of some of these objects.
Did it work?
But, okay, but here's the problem, Pascal.
Okay.
These guys know mathematics, right? They know what happens if you throw a goldfish at a train running full steam, they know what's going to happen. It's not going to take the train off the tracks, right? Because there's too much weight in it. Well, momentum, right? The celestial mechanics dictates that all that speed equates into mass. It's too massive to affect the orbit of something like that. They're trying to nudge it or something like that. Here's the bad part about that. In another 17 years, we'll know if we nudged it a couple of inches or not.
What? Wait a minute, wait. In 17 years, we're going to know what?
Yeah. If we nudged it a couple of inches or not. In 17 years, we'll find out if we actually changed the orbit by a couple of inches.
Well, what good is that going to do if we got, let's say Apophis coming April 13, 2029. They tell me don't worry about it, although back in 2004, NASA said there was a 2.7% chance that it was going to deep impact. Now they say, well, don't worry, it's going to scrape by, we're going to be fine. Maybe so, but if that thing was coming our way or going to hit us, and it's a half a mile wide, there's nothing on Earth that can stop that, is there?
If the speed is too fast, if proximity is too close, no. So if they know they can't nudge it, they know they're not going to have good results for another 17 years where they can even really measure what it did. What would be the real reason? I'll tell you the real reason. Okay. That's called targeting, right? If you were to target an interstellar object, right, not to nudge it, to destroy it, and it's not going to be a comet. Nobody's trying to destroy something that's about to hit the Earth. I can tell you that right now, but they would try and destroy some intruders, to be honest with you. They would. Now, this is going to sound strange, right? But if you notice, at the end of Revelation, why did the world, knowing who God was, seeing Christ Jesus, seeing angels, seeing the New Jerusalem, or knowing about all that stuff and seeing stuff in space, why would they go to war against the living God and his angels? They're being seen on earth. That'll be a very different time. This is after the 1,000-year reign. Why would they ever do that? Because they were accustomed to it. That's why, right? Because they were accustomed, just like people are accustomed now to seeing those spooky lights in the skies.
Right.
They are. And what they don't know is that there are active missions concerning those things. They're not it's not what people think, and it's not anything like Hollywood.
No.
It's very different. For the most part, most things come from right here. You don't have to go external to the earth to see ancient things. They're still here, still around, but their greatest asset is to outsmart us. In other words, stay hidden. They just let us blame ourselves. But that's not going to be hidden long, right? In the course of all this stuff happening on the earth, it's inevitable that things are going to be shown, things will be seen, right? That's going to be inevitable. In the meanwhile, there are going to be some things we have to put up with, because mankind is going to be beat down with geology, with weather, right? With celestial problems. And what people should get ready for. Now we're in that season where people have to really think about ash. They're going to have to think about, I'll say this.
Okay, you're ash.
Pastor Paul, there's a...
You talked about this before, Mike.
In the near future, yeah. Pastor Paul, it's going to be a very serious subject, but all of us are going to have to deal with a black sky.
Now, is that because of is that because of our carbon footprint? Is it
it's not because of mankind.
No.
Well, I'll say this. It's going to be a very devastating time, right? We're going to have to deal with it. People are not going to be going outside. Everybody's going to have to be accustomed to either bitter cold or excessive heat.
Now, is that because of massive volcanic eruptions? What would cause it?
We are very close to a stupidity event, I'm going to call it.
A what?
That will no doubt. If we have ordnance throughout the earth that can seriously disrupt geology on the earth, seriously disrupt it. Some of that ordnance has been on the move. It's being positioned, right? Deployments are happening, and we have some serious problems here, right? Which is why I'm glad that if it were my choice, everybody would have to move away from certain places. Japan, nobody I know would live in Japan. People should get out of Japan, right? Because Japan just probably won't be there.
Japan just won't be there.
No, it's not. That geology is not going to support. It's falling apart underneath Japan. It's not as stable as people think. And they're going to get a reminder with a pretty, well, they already had that tsunami, right? They're going to have another tsunami, another one. This will demonstrate the activity of some of the, what's going on in the Pacific Ocean. It is bad in the Pacific Ocean. On our side, Australia is going to have an issue, right? Because they're not out of the woods. They're going to start to see how unstable the Atlantic can be. And so, but that'll just be the beginning, because you have mankind getting involved. There will at some point be a sea battle that will take place. Nobody's going to see it at first. They won't see it at first. They're going to get hints of it, not really understand what's going on. But these things they're escalating fast. They know about certain approaches and certain interactions it will cause upon the Earth, just causing our problems here to become worse. This binary system may seem mythical right now, but it won't seem so mythical when we see a different constellation, right? Celestial mechanics seems stable right now, but it's not going to seem so stable if they do one of two things. Either we keep living until this other constellation comes into view, or James Webb actually discloses some of the imagery they really have captured. And then people will know that there's something different happening.
Okay, so
happening here.
Do you think James Webb telescope has already captured
oh, yes, they have.
X?
Oh, yes. Well, they've captured. You know what? I would say this. Planet X is one thing. But there are worse things out there than a Planet X.
There's worse things out there than Planet X?
There's worse things out there than Planet X. It also gives definition to some of the let's just say some of the interactions between some of these systems, right? I'll put it this way. We wouldn't, if one of those systems were gone, we wouldn't be alive. We wouldn't be alive because they emit exotic chemistry, you could say, right? We live because of that chemistry. Everything out there supports life here also. Everything out there is tied to your body and how it operates internally. It really is. If we were missing certain chemicals, radiation, and things like that, our bodies could not sustain themselves, right? So everything is tied in. They're finding this out. Scientists are changing. But I know a guy, a scientist, who is this guy's he's a good scientist. But he was against creation, period. This guy he has either lost his mind or he has seen the light, because now he has totally flipped sides, right? As of 2021 and 22, this guy's seen enough to totally change his mind. He repents more now than ever before, because so many years he was against it. Right? Because he trusted the data that was available. Well, when better and better equipment came out, he was able to see more and more things, which turned everything over. So we're at the point now where people can see a whole lot more than what they did, right? They can see that. I mean, you have people working at the atomic level, moving atoms around, right? Think about that. How does that work? But they're doing it, right? They're making nano skin right now. Right? They've completed several projects with nanoskin, self-repairing skin.
Yes.
That's a DoD project, and it works. It looks like a small Band-Aid, but it will graft itself into your skin. Eventually, it utilizes the chemistry and the natural
chemistry of your body
to replicate itself. Yes, yes.
It's part synthetic and part biological?
Well, it uses biological material, but it's 100% synthetic. Right? Which when somebody tries to pierce it or something like that, it reacts. It will stiffen up and thicken, utilizing fluids in your body. It'll do that. There are so many things that are coming out with that would blow the average person's mind. We're talking about things that are accomplished.
What do you think about, not to jump off the subject too far here, but Elon Musk, I think Friday's going to reveal Optimus and the humanoids or AI, the grand opening of the AI robot that has the ability to do some mundane, repetitive things, and not just one, like a robotic arm can do one thing over and over and over. But we're talking about an entity, a machine that resembles a human that can do several different types of things, lift, carry, walk, do different. Do you feel this is just a very first generational prototype of where we're end up going? Or do you think that we're way out of our league here?
Well, here's what I think. I think that I wouldn't, if I were anybody, I wouldn't buy this story. When Musk shows remember, this guy works for the Defense Department.
Right.
And he has defense contracts.
Right.
There's no way he's going to show the full extent of any technology.
Okay.
Right? He has to play the role that we're just now getting to things. Because if somebody were to come out and show the actual potential we have, right?
Right.
Then many civilians, many corporations that are not involved would demand that technology be released. That would cause people to rebel because they would just want too much, right? They say, why in the world are we using this when we can have that? Right?
Right.
That's exactly what they would do. So, Pastor Paul, I would say that what he's about to introduce to the world is a really dumbed down version of something that's very old to him. He's far ahead of the curve, right? He's far ahead. In fact, he just developed 2 new chips, right? That are just impossible chips. Let's put it that way. And the civilians won't see one of the chips, right? Half the guidance work that takes place on some of these launches, a human is not interacting with. You'd be surprised at what people are monitoring. When you see these launches and you see all these people standing around looking at the machines, right? Suppose all of that was automated and it did not need human interaction. And all they were looking at were temperatures and gauges, just bystanders learning about procedures. By the way, Elon Musk requires that everybody that works for his company be an engineer at heart.
Yeah.
Right? A good engineer, just any engineer. So regardless of what they do, they have to be an engineer. So there's nobody below masters working at that level in that class.
Unbelievable.
Okay?
Yeah, you're right.
But there's no way like the RAND Corporation, which you don't hear about the RAND Corporation.
No, you don't.
But they have developed things that have contributed in the medical field, but they held back. I'd say they held back at least 98% of what they have actually developed.
Wow.
And the civilians get the leftovers. Now, they have to play this role. Bureaucracy is very important because it makes things real, right? So in essence, they're teaching, or they have this show they put on every single day, like we don't know how to do things, because they can't put it out to everybody. If the civilian populace knows about some of these heavy advances, and another country does not, right? They're going to demand it, come and steal it, go to war for it, or do anything else they can do to get it, right? So the world falls apart in that respect. That's one of the big reasons behind this UFO nonsense, is they're hiding the technology. Forget about the entities, right?
Yes.
They're hiding that technology because in truth, when the real report comes out, people are going to find out they've been hunting for something that's not involved with UFOs, right? But they need that technology is what they need. They are inspired by what they see. Now, here's the last thing on that one. When a person sees something, that's when they believe it's possible. That's when they start pouring money into it. Nobody's going to pour money into an idea that's not proven, right? But if you saw something working and you just couldn't figure it out, you'd pour everything into it because you say, wait a minute, they had it working, so we can do it too, right? That's why they pour money into things. So that's all you have to.
In other words, he's got to bring out a dummied down version of where he's 50 generations past that, but he's going to show us the dummied down version just to get the excitement going and the money flowing to
keep the paradigm going.
Yeah, further the cause of where he's going.
Let's call it a movie. Keep the movie going.
Keep the movie going. Yeah.
Right? And if he doesn't stay in line, he's going to stay in line. If he doesn't stay in line, well, he'll just have no protection in the end, right?
Yeah, so he's got to stay in line, so yeah. All right, now, speaking of staying in line, we got to ask this question. Nordstrom 2.
Oh, boy, what a mess.
Okay.
That's a mess.
Who blew this up and why? What's your thoughts on this, Mike?
Well, that's really a mess.
Or if you can say or not. I mean,
well, it's a mess. But I'll tell you what. One of the biggest hints is that right before this thing, right before it went, those anomalies that explode, those explosions happened. Wasn't it the Norwegian folks who were saying, hey, Hey, and Britain's Navy, hey, we got to keep an eyeball on Russia, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been tailing them. Listen to this now. We're tailing them under the water, watching everywhere they go. And then the thing blows up, right? But they're the ones down there tailing them. Just think about that. Russia has been down there for years.
Right.
Why in the world would they blow up their own stuff? Plus,
They wouldn't blow up their own
that was
pilot.
in their favor. That was in their favor.
It was their only. It was not their only leverage, but that was one of our big leverages over Europe. Why would you blow up your own $12 billion pipe?
And it's wait a minute. The day before they put out this message, this little public act, right?
Yeah.
We got to keep our eyeballs on unidentified drones near oil and gas platforms and so on and so forth, right? That was and then in July. The Royal Navy did the same thing. They were practicing following Russian submarines and this, that, and the other. But the day prior, the Norwegian authorities came out and they said, hey, we have to really keep an eye on the Russians in this area, right? The next day, poof. And then what happens right after that? Hey, well, since that blew up, well, let's just go ahead and sign this, make a deal on this new pipeline. We did this new stuff we got here. So people should figure that out.
Yeah,
and
Putin's really
probably
should.
scratching his head like, what happened? What are they talking about? What happened? So listen, they shut his media off to Europe, right? So they can say anything they want to. They shut his media off to the U.S. So they can say anything they want to and blame it on Putin. And no matter how he tries to defend himself,
he can't.
It's going to be filtered. Nobody's going to see it. And they're going to interpret that any way they want. So that means, because he stood and he dares stand in the way of this new governmental order, let's call it the beast, because he dares stand in the way of the beast, they're going to absorb his potential into one of the heads and march forward. That's all. So,
I think you just nailed it. I mean, Vladimir Putin's been cornered by the rest of the West. He has said that he's being cornered. He's tried to stand up against the New World Order. We took away his ability to even speak because we shut down his most of the websites that Russia had, news agents, organizations that Russia had that can't reach the rest of the world. So the rest of the press can say what they want about him. He really can't defend himself. And so does that make him a caged animal? I mean, at some point...
Sure does.
I mean, he could actually... He could throw the deuce. He could just throw him if you back him too hard, right?
If you watch right now, right, he's not setting up for the 4th of July. What he is setting up right now is something that is very recognizable to a tactician. His collaborative efforts, positioning, some of his activities match perfectly with a strategy that they would use in a nuclear preemptive strike, followed by a defensive tactic, right? Because any preemptive strike by any country, should it be known that it's that country is going to disappear, which means you just don't launch one nuke, right? Because they know if you do that, upon launch detection, what's going to happen? A counter-strike. Nobody has a choice but to counter-strike. But if you can somehow launch a nuke, right, from a position no one's really looking at, or there's possibly some other allies there, you buy yourself some time, you cause confusion, right? Everybody gets scared. And so you start breaking down those nations that are in fear of something going wrong. When the stories are all corrupted, he can, we have to remember, out of all the hacks we have in the U.S., Russia did it. We have to remember that, right? Russia. Who they're saying is, has a ragtag army. They have little to no equipment. They have caused us more damage and trouble than anybody on the face of the earth. It's been Russia. They're the ones that are savvy behind this. Oh, and by the way, back in 2010 and 11, many people were tracking Spetsnaz troops right here in the USA. 2013, all of a sudden nobody could find them anymore. Okay, so we have that issue. They could be anywhere, anybody, right? We also have Iranian operatives in this country that they were watching. 800 sleeper cells they lost track of, right?
How do you lose track of 800 sleeper cells?
they can vanish into society when people drop the ball. Remember, we had some unusual political tensions back then, unusual. And through all that excitement, other things were happening, right? It also was a change in post of those who were in charge of our true national defense. And JSOC also changed their post. So when we start digging into those elements that really protect the U.S., that's when you start messing up. And so with Donald Rumsfeld and all these guys being active, things started falling apart, right? Because some of these top echelon individuals did not like their spokesman having their hands so deep into the pot. And so all that stuff happened, and they truly did lose count and lose intelligence on many of the folks. Plus, international cooperation broke down, and some of the folks who were with those operatives disappeared because they were highly offended and backstabbed by America, they felt. So if you had a sleeper cell, but you had an agent, a foreign agent, paid in that sleeper cell, but all of a sudden you offend that agent to a degree that he no longer has confidence in you, he's going to vanish with the sleeper cell.
Yeah,
so they have no intel on where they are, right? That's how it works. Then we also had the problem with the NSA. That further interrupted some of the surveillance that was taking place. So it's like everything went wrong during that time, right? And so now what do we have? We have a problem is what we have. Right? We have a big problem, and we don't have accountability of what's in this nation. Through all of the freedom of speech problems that we've been having, right? Because it did look like you could say anything you wanted to in America, but you could not say Jesus is Lord. You couldn't say that.
Right.
Right? You couldn't, because if you say he's Lord, you would offend everybody else, so you couldn't say that, right? So anyway, during that time, bad stuff started to happen, and we lost control. Now we sit at a time where they're trying to push a brand new system in the face of, they're going to push this system, and no one will stand in the way, right? They're bold with it, too. New policies being passed, like the regulation on crypto. I'm sure that people have questions about that, right? They're going to make sure that all leadership standards and their new set economy absorbs everything. Right?
So this is part of that brand new. This is part of the Great Reset. Then is to restart everything.
I would call. You know what I would call this, though, Pastor Paul? Because it's think of it this way.
Okay.
There's a new system in operation right now. Right now, it's in operation. It's just that people don't know it.
Yeah.
They don't know it. Right. It's kind of like when the cell phones went digital. Right. People had no idea that a cell phone would go from analog to pure digital. And you remember at the last end, they forced everybody to get a SIM card. They said, well, we're taking down all the, analog signals, and you have to go pure digital. Shortly after that, all television frequencies changed. They took all that stuff off air, and from that point, we've had control of media, right? You just couldn't just, start broadcasting shortwave and get that picked up on some of the new equipment. So now we have a different thing happening. Everything is being redirected, and this new bill, if anybody understands cryptocurrency in this new bill, think of this. It's nothing more than the way they're going to channel all information into one hub and then have that information, right, released after AI can filter, redirect, rewrite, do whatever it wants to do with it, and then it will put it back out. So everything is being filtered into an intelligent system, right? Everything is. Now, we're not talking about human beings. We're talking about something else that's going to have eyeballs on everything. Right? Everything is going to be filtered into it, and this new currency thing that they're coming out with, right? This I believe it's 14067. That will tell the story. All somebody has to do is read it, and they'll say, this has more to do with all information than cryptocurrency, because it is a standard for everything else.
Yeah, it's moving us forward to a one world currency and a one world system to manage it
fast,
very fast. And as a matter of fact, you're saying it's already in play. It's just it's already in play now. It's just now the manipulation.
You know what that means? You know what that means, Pastor Paul?
Yeah,
they're going to be able to. If a person does not, if you're a citizen, right, but you disagree with your citizenship. Right? Because this is what it's moving to. If you're a citizen but you disagree with your citizenship, they can effectively freeze everything you have. Your car's not going to run, right?
Right.
Your car's not going to run. Now, I'll put this in out there. This is going to happen because they want everybody to have all the new stuff, right? Hear that. They want everybody to have the new stuff, Pastor Paul.
Okay.
That means if you have a gasoline car, I can almost guarantee you, if they want you to have an electric car, you're going to get that electric car. If they have to raise your income, right, by $200,000, briefly, they're going to do it. They're going to put that out to you so you can buy the electric car. So they want everybody with manageable equipment, manageable
That's
assets,
to help manage
which means, that's right, which means if you do not comply with your citizenship,
Right.
you are effectively a non-person, right? Because
Yeah.
if you're not a citizen, you don't have a right to money. You don't have a right to resources. You don't have a right to anything. You don't have a right to a gas bill or anything else. And I'm telling you right now, this new bill 14067, if you can look at that, don't think about cryptocurrency. Think about everything else, then you're going to see it.
Is
Because
this
if
bill
you look
passed yet, or is it on the floor? Where's it at?
Well, it's so bold, right? This is bold.
Right.
Let's just say it's it's going to happen. Let's
Yeah,
put it
it's
that way.
just, it's,
Whether,
and then
whether it passes or not, it's going to happen because that stuff, right, has been, the groundwork is laid. There's
Yeah.
no way around it. Half of it's in operation
that's almost,
right now.
it almost sounds like the mark of the beast system. I mean, you
Yes,
can't
it
buy or
does.
sell unless you have
That's right.
the identity.
That's right.
You have
You
to-
said it.
Yeah.
You said it. Then with the new observation polls that they have going up everywhere, just like China, right? But they will observe us because everybody has a cell phone. Do you not know by the end of 2022, every human being in the USA will have an identification device,
Registry.
which means you'll have a cell phone, right? If
Yeah.
you can afford one, they're going to give you one.
Yeah,
It's going to be active. It's going to be working.
yeah.
They even have free service
Because
set
they
up
got
for
to
5G
track
right
you.
now.
You got to be tracked.
You have to be identified.
And
Because if you're not identified, right, we're going to have a highway above our heads. And if you're not identified, you're going to be a threat. And if you're a threat, AI will engage you.
Maybe the
It will
little
engage
drones
you.
that just take you out. Right, AI.
They're
will
already
engage
up
you.
there. You
They
know what?
can kill
Nobody
you.
sees.
Drones can
Nobody sees
assassinate.
drones up there, right?
They got-
Here's the funny part.
Okay.
Have you seen a drone fly over your head lately?
Yes, I have before.
Well, every day, they're on patrol, just like police officers, and hardly anybody can see
Are
them.
they little bitty like bugs or what?
No, they're not little bitty. No.
Where are they at?
That's the strange thing. They're not small. They're right above your heads, and they are. You know what? You can call them. If you look out, some people have looked out the corner of their eye and they've looked up and they don't see anything. It's almost like they saw a shadow, right? You can say it that way, a shadow. It's very quiet, right? Because they can do miracle
Yeah, they don't
things
make no
with sound
sound.
now,
No.
right? They can do miracle things, but they're out there. They're patrolling. Right, and as fast as data travels now, they have a brand new artificial intelligence architecture chip that is stacked one on top of the other. So think of your pinky finger, right? Your pinky finger being a quantum computer. They can do that now. A quantum computer would not fit in your house, not the total unit, because you have cooling and all that stuff, right? So think of a quantum computer now, in 2022 September, fitting on your pinky finger. They got it? They got it. That's a lot of processing. Of
That
data.
is.
And so we are there right now. We're there right now. And soon people will know about this, but when they can't do anything about it. They're not going to go out in the street and have a protest. None of that is going to happen. Right?
No.
People will be able to see it when they can do nothing about it.
Yeah, we're
That's
like
how the game
frogs
works.
boiling in water right now. We're like
That's how the
frogs.
game works. But, I'll tell you right now, the Holy Spirit still disrupts and interrupts. Because why do you think there want so many people believing in science? Why? And dealing with facts, right? Right now, the answer to most people is YouTube, right?
Right,
Or it's
right.
going to be facts and figures and data. But if you have the Holy Spirit, you're not bound to some of these data.
Amen.
And if people haven't noticed, the data has been wrong for many years. It really has. It's been messed up for many years.
Yeah.
But not the Holy Spirit.
No.
Not when somebody authentically has the Holy Spirit. So, that's something that we have to make a choice to look into. All somebody has to do is just say, Lord, I'm yours, start utilizing it. They'll see it themselves. They'll never see it if they're embedded in this world system. And this system in the world is getting stronger.
We're getting much closer. Folks back around the world join us tonight. I'm going to say now that we are way further down the line here with the science and the technology and the will to create a one world government, a new world order. It's already in it's basically established. It's just they haven't revealed it yet. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
am I right by saying that?
Yeah,
right?
that's the best phrase for that. It's the best phrase for that.
It's really
That is the
already
best
done.
phrase.
It's already established.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been revealed to the public, to the populace.
Yeah.
And they're looking
Yeah.
for the right mouthpiece to do it. I would think that the mark of the, I'm going to say, I've been saying this, that the Antichrist is alive right now and is and there's several that are candidates and are being groomed, and someone's going to be chosen. It's
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will. I tell you, that door conversation will probably have in the future, because I'm sure they're going to introduce that door to the world.
Well,
Right?
this
They're gonna
takes
introduce
place
that
by,
door to the world.
you think of the Christian people in the church. The church, if the Christians don't know the book of Revelation, book of Daniel, don't understand
They're not-
prophecy, they're going to be lost.
You know what, Pastor Paul? It's almost like the trampling of Jerusalem underfoot, right? Because I notice a lot of people, they look at the Jews, they talk about the temple, and they talk about all these things, right? And they say, well, you know, they shouldn't do that. Well, that's true. They shouldn't, because we have Christ.
Right,
but they
right.
were blinded for a time.
Right, that's right, that's
now,
right.
a person who understands, then they understand that God has temporarily blinded them for our benefit.
Right.
But look at the ways that they persist to keep, in their sincerity behind keeping the laws of God, whether it's flawed or not. That's a heart for the living God. It may be a little, you know, not in line with what he has in this time, but even at the end, and you read that God restores his people.
Yes, he does.
And he says, anybody. He said he was talking to certain people who should not have said anything during that siege. In other words, if they ever fall, anybody who speaks against the Jews are going to have to deal directly
That's
with the living
exactly
God,
right.
and they will not escape.
See, that's
right?
where a lot of Christians and a lot of in Christianity have really don't understand. They get frustrated with the Jewish state of Israel, the Jewish people. They don't understand why they didn't accept the Messiah the first time around. They don't. And of course they were blinded so that we could get in if you're a Gentile. And God, though, is going to restore them. He's in the process of doing it. You can see it every day. We better be careful about what we say about God's chosen people.
Yeah.
And we better be careful.
Well, Pastor Paul, that's why your ministry is a blessing, because most ministries will not engage that subject. They just won't do it. They're not telling people why they're here on earth. They're not telling people things like that. They're skipping all over that and telling them, you know, how they can always gain. They don't teach, because that would be a teaching of sacrifice, wouldn't it?
Yes,
and
it
sacrifice is very important and teach. It's part of, you know, our true heritage in life.
I think you just hit the ball out of the park with the word sacrifice, because Jesus, look, the preaching of the cross, when you preach the cross, you're preaching the suffering of Christ, the sacrifice. And he said, but we got to take up our cross daily and follow him.
Right.
When people preach constant gain, and don't preach the cross, it's like, you know, it's a mist in the wind. It doesn't have any substance. Now, God will bless you, but you've got the cross and the suffering with Christ. I mean, the Bible says if you don't have come into the suffering with Christ, you will not have the fellowship of the resurrection, or the power of his resurrection. So we got to get back to the cross and the suffering of Christ and how we may suffer. I think you nailed it, Mike. This is and preaching on the end times is just not something people are too popular, because they don't want to hear about it. They want it to go away. But this is the most necessary thing, folks. You have to know.
They see it happening, and it's really about to get to a point where it's going to cause people fear. I hope that nobody listening ever has fear of these things, right? Because everything for the believer, everything is happening for their deliverance. Now just wait. I know of certain stories that happen in Florida, Pastor Paul. They're going to blow people's minds. But just wait until those stories come out.
Oh, are you talking about stories from the storm?
From this hurricane.
Yeah.
And you know what that name means? God's, what does it mean? God's grace? I think it means God's grace.
Ian?
Gracious, yeah.
God's grace.
I think that was a derivative from, it came from somewhere in Scotland. It's a Hebrew word that they used in, I believe it was Scotland or somewhere like that, but it means God's grace or something to that effect. Or God is gracious. God is gracious.
Okay.
And sure enough, God doesn't make mistakes. And see, that's why I can't, because, by the way, something very important to the intelligence community was destroyed by Ian. totally destroyed. You're talking about, you're almost talking about $1 trillion worth of stuff was destroyed.
Really?
I'm telling you, people are not happy. They're not happy.
So the intelligence community lost some serious technology.
You better believe it. You better believe it. It
Wow.
was absolutely destroyed, obliterated.
Wow. I did not know that.
That wasn't good. It was some weird stuff that happened with it, you know. Boats still tied to the dock.
So you're saying God's hand was
on land, and
God's hand
people
was
can
in
say
there.
what they will, but I'll say that you know, there were some losses that they were not good losses, right? Somebody's going to pay for that one big time, because that was, you know, that's it's not good to lose assets like that. It's just not good.
Wow. Mike, fascinating information here tonight. Man, we touched on a lot of subjects, and I mean, a lot of good information. All of it is saying the prophecies of the Bible are true, that the Lord Jesus Christ is coming soon, and you can see the handwriting on the wall. It's why I think we appreciate your ministry, Mike, and what you're doing by sharing this information with the body of Christ to help us see more clearly. The things that are happening are tied directly, the current world events are tied directly to biblical prophecy, and it's every week we see more and more of it. And I appreciate that. I really do. Appreciate you coming on.
As well, we may be talking about volcanism, right? And
Near
possibly, hopefully not Mexico, but certainly volcanism may pop up. It may pop up. So we'll see.
Sounds like we better keep our eyes open on the volcanoes out there, or underwater sea volcanoes, or whatever it may be.
I'll certainly be watching.
All right,
I'll be watching, that's for sure.
Thank you so much, Mike, for being here. Appreciate it so much, greatly.
Always an honor, Pastor Paul. God bless you.
Thank you, my brother. God bless.
All right.
Mike from around the world.